hanged for the murders of old Ira Mullins and the members of his family in 1893. The Red Fox, along with two accomplices, laid in wait as old Ira and his kin traveled by a place that would later become known as the Killing Rock at the crest of Black Mountain. It was here, near the Virginia-Kentucky border, that old Ira was ambushed as he sat in a jolt wagon, which, being unable to walk, he was forced to travel in. The poor man didn't have a chance. The only two survivors, including old Ira's son, easily identified the Red Fox as the leader of the assassins. While it seems that old Ira's son should be able to be linked to the young Dave Tolliver character, this is problematic. The boy did not share Ira's first name. His name was John Mullins, and he was only 14 years old at the time. This seems much too young to match up with the young Dave character's portrayal in Fox's novel. To date, no relative of or any person contemporary with Devil John Wright can be matched with the character of young Dave Tolliver. It seems that this major character is either based on some actual person known only to John Fox Jr., thus lost to history, or is wholly a fictional construct of the author's imagination. The latter contention is bolstered by the fact that, by the novel's end, the young Dave character is conveniently killed off while out west, a demise which presently can't be attributed to any known person. As to the minor character, June's little brother Bub, there does seem to be a corresponding real-life person the character could have been derived from. Bub is described as a young boy who is either a brother or step-brother to the heroine, June Tolliver. The short-syllabled nickname Bub is a common one throughout Appalachia and the South in general. While no actual ages for any of the main characters in the novel are given, a range for some, especially June, can be estimated from the story's narrative. It seems that at the beginning of the approximate decade that unfolds in the book, June Tolliver is first introduced as an adolescent of about 14 to 16 years old. This leaves an impression of little Bub Tolliver as being somewhere between 8 and 11 years old. This makes for a criteria of a real-life son of Devil John Wright of about 10 years of age that John Fox Jr. would have encountered when visiting his friend's home. Such a young boy would be expected to have a short-syllabled nickname with which everyone in the Wright household referred to him. Is there any corresponding real-life person? The answer is yes. Devil John Wright did have one son of particular notoriety and is the most likely source for the character of Bub Tolliver. This person was born in 1898, making him exactly 10 years old when The Trail of the Lonesome Pine was published. John Fox Jr. would have actually watched this young man grow up. Due to another, younger sibling's inability to accurately pronounce his first name, this man was known all his life by an unusual short-syllabled nickname. This was the illustrious William T. Wright, whose little sister mispronounced his first name as Chidham instead of William. Thus he was, and continues to be, simply known as Chid. Chid Wright would grow to become a highly educated, prominent civic leader, teacher, administrator, and renowned author of the memoir of his father, whom he loyally cared for until his death. William Chid Wright published Devil John Wright of the Cumberlands in 1970. If John Fox Jr. relied on any real-life source for the character of Bub Tolliver, Chid Wright seems to be the obvious choice. June Tolliver's stepmother is a minor character in the story. Her real name is never given. She is simply referred to as a stepmother. Why Fox failed to flesh out this character is not known, but her description makes it obvious that she is based on an actual person. She is portrayed as being reticent in conversation, but given to verbal and physical abusiveness when angered. She lives with Devil Judd, but is not June's real mother. With the exception of performing rudimentary chores, she is presented as being bedridden. The inference should be obvious by the portrayal. The stepmother character is undoubtedly based on Devil John's first legal wife, Maddie Humphrey Wright. Consider the following. The stepmother would be based on a real-life spouse of Devil John Wright. She would have been present in the household on Elkhorn Creek during the time frame spanning the years of Devil John's friendship with Fox. This would include her living presence at the 1908 publication date of The Trail of the Lonesome Pine. Children, such as that portrayed by June, who were fathered by her husband with other women, were within her charge. With the exception of being capable of performing menial physical tasks, she stays in her bed. She is given to violent outbursts. This person is portrayed as having little quality of life and very limited social interaction. If, as has been proposed, Devil John's wife, Maddie, indeed suffered from some sort of mental illness or dementia, Fox's description of the stepmother based on Maddie would be an accurate one. It is this description, taken to be based on the poor woman's real-life circumstances, that further bolsters the contention that Maddie Wright was actually a mentally disabled individual. It is an unfortunate fact, rather than being more precisely portrayed as simply incapable, the stepmother character comes off as the stereotypical, lazy, hillbilly matriarch. It is an unintended consequence of such characterization on Fox's part that would later be reflected by the unflattering, cliched portrayals of mountain mothers in such works as Lil Abner and Hollywood's Ma Kettle. Maddie Wright passed away 17 years after being thus immortalized. The cause of her death was listed simply as senility. The Phelan clan, also called the Red Phelans, is the archenemy of the Tolliver clan, also referred to as the Black Tollivers. One of the book's major themes incorporates the ongoing family feud between the Tollivers, headed by Devil Judd, and the Phelans, headed by Old Buck Phelan, and it is well known and accepted that this feud is based on the actual Wright-Jones feud of the mid-1880s. The corresponding history of the Wright-Jones feud with the Trail of the Lonesome Pines portrayal of the Tolliver-Phelan feud is an easy one. If Devil Judd is accepted as being based on Devil John, then there is only one candidate for the feud portrayed in the novel. This is the Wright-Jones feud that would have been related to, if not witnessed firsthand by, Fox during his friendship with Devil John. Based on this, the character of Old Buck Phelan in the book is easily associated with Devil John's real-life nemesis, Old Clabe Jones. Likewise, the Phelans are undoubtedly based upon the Jones clan of Knott County, Kentucky. There is absolutely no doubt whatsoever that Fox's murderous character, Bad Rufe Tolliver, is based on none other but Bad Talt Hall. The corresponding historical facts of Bad Talt's life with the portrayal of Bad Rufe are unassailable. Indeed, it is the unfortunate demise of Bad Talt Hall and the Red Fox that reveals the time frame for the story of The Trail of the Lonesome Pine. It is the known execution date of Bad Talt Hall from which can be extrapolated, using the novel's narrative, the span of years within which the Trail of the Lonesome Pine actually takes place. Bad Talt, though not a relative, was a constant figure in the Wright household. As such, he was well known, even feared by Devil John's children. Accordingly, Fox portrays Bad Ruth as not being a blood relative to the main character, June Tolliver. In the book, she refers to him as a foster uncle, whom she feared. At the beginning of the novel, Bad Ruth has been sent out west by Devil Judd in order to quell the ongoing hostilities between the Tollivers and the Phalans. Likewise, at the behest of Devil John Wright, Bad Todd Hall traveled westward to Memphis, Tennessee, to relieve tensions during the Wright-Jones feud. It was upon Hall's return to the region that he committed the crime for which he was hanged. Bad Todd Hall murdered Police Chief James Hilton in the town of Norton, Virginia. This is the event portrayed in The Trail of the Lonesome Pine of Bad Ruth gunning down Guard Sergeant Maccabee at the town of the Gap. Thus, the town of Norton is included as a source for Fox's fictional town in the novel. In the book, Bad Ruth's trial occurs in the Gap. Here, the outlaw is convicted on the dramatic testimony by the heroine, June Tolliver. He is sentenced to hang by the jury. It is a novel addition to the outdoor drama performed every summer in Big Stone Gap that audience members are placed on stage as jury members in the drama's rendition of Bad Ruth's trial. As he stands on the gallows, also portrayed as being constructed at the Gap, one of Devil Judd's clansmen attempts to shoot Bad Ruth from a hidden sniper's nest. This was in order to keep Devil Judd's promise that no Tolliver would ever be hanged. Unfortunately for Bad Ruth, the sniper's bullet merely wings him. Thus, gravely wounded, he meets his end kicking at the hangman's noose. The reality is that Bad Todd was jailed, tried, and executed not in Big Stone Gap, but in the newly formed county seat of Wise, Virginia. Wise had been called Gladeville during the Civil War. It is Bad Todd's incarceration, trial, and execution that allows the town of Wise to be included in Fox's depiction of the Gap. As of a matter of fact, Bad Todd Hall was the first person to ever be executed in Wise County, Virginia. He was hanged on September 2nd, 1892. Just as the novel is concerned with Devil Judd Tolliver allowing any of his kin to be hanged, the community had very real concern as to whether or not Devil John Wright would allow his best friend to be executed. Newspapers as far east as Lynchburg, Virginia, echoed those concerns by reporting that the infamous outlaw Devil John Wright and his gang would attempt to break Hall out of the jail by violence. As a result, more than 50 extra guards were placed at the jail and adjoining gallows on the day of the hanging. Instead of a last-minute violent reprieve, neither Devil John, who was not present at the execution, nor any of his kin attempted any jailbreak. Devil John sent inquiry to his old comrade asking if Bad Todd wished to be buried in Kentucky. This dashed any last hope Hall may have had regarding any rescue. Bad Todd Hall met a grisly end, having his life slowly strangled away for a reported 17 minutes by the noose. Devil John sent a wagon for his friend's body and buried Thomas Talton Bad Todd Hall in his own family cemetery, where he would also bury two of his sons and his wife and lifelong companion, Maddie. Named for her birth month, June Tolliver, Fox's most famous character, is the heroine and main character of The Trail of the Lonesome Pine. As such, John Fox Jr. portrays her in two distinct ways. First, she is depicted as the teenage daughter of Devil Judd Tolliver. She is described as being like a little wild animal when originally encountered by the civilized engineer Jack Hale at the base of the Lonesome Pine. Hell, the cosmopolitan foreigner, is immediately smitten by the wily, barefooted nymph in her